Okay, it's time for a public hearing. I'm going to open to the public hearing and ask for comments on the City of Orland obtaining funding through the Economic Development Infrastructure Community Development Block Grant, that's a mouthful, to complete a Worland Master Plan. At this time, I ask for comments, but I want each person, if they have a comment on this, to raise their hand and stand one at a time, no interaction between people that are yakking back and forth, to keep this in order. We are going to limit your time to 3 minutes. We do have a full house and we have other business we need to take care of also. So with that being said, does anybody want to address this at all? Yes, sir. State your name, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council and Mayor Lombard. My name is John Kinane. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening in regard to this state grant that you're currently considering. I want to say first that I'm not against planning for the future. I'm all for trying to attract outside businesses to our city, and I agree with the Washakie Development Association that we must do what we can to promote the best Worland possible. However, I am against the use of $50,000 of taxpayer money to create this plan. Our city is small enough that putting a 20-year master plan together could be done by our own planning commission, in my opinion. Any planning consultant that we would hire would be adapting a pre-existing American Planning Association plan of sustained development or smart growth, things that are written to create dense urban cities with dependence on public transit. The end goals of this plan are to create social justice and preserve the environment. These plans are for larger cities, not small ones like ours. These plans are also implementing UN Agenda 21. Please do read the reports of how the planning process was done in both Basin and Thermopolis. The consultant built artificial consensus to justify pre-existing plans. No concern is ever raised about private property and the ability to use it as you, the property owner, see fit. Landowners outside the city limits are similarly burdened with new regulations. I know that our planning commissioners, at the direction of the city building department, are already starting to put together a list of stakeholders that will be interviewed with the assumption that what we learn is what's going to be important to the community and how we would like to see the city grow. The next step would be a public survey to see how they rate or classify these things put forth by the stakeholders. The survey is then used by the planner to justify the new zoning and ordinances. However, the plan they create will be a cookie-cutter version of typical Agenda 21 scenario with multi-use buildings downtown, walkable and bikeable neighborhoods. Even the safe routes to school and the international 2012 building codes are all tied into this plan. It's all about growing the size of our city government. My wife and I moved our business of 20 years from California to Wyoming a few years ago to try to get away from the excessive regulations, only to find that this community is falling into the same trap. The city is very anti-business right now, and enforcing the new 2012 business codes is making that worse. To add this big city, big government plan, no one is going to want to move a business here. I urge you, the council, to vote no on this grant, or at least postpone the vote until we have the opportunity to learn more about Agenda 21.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other input? Yes, ma'am. State your name, please.
Janine King. I did not know that we had to make public comment tonight before the council even discussed this issue. And I was told that you'd already discussed it, but all the prior discussion I could find was just that you guys were interested in discussing it. So it's really hard to make a comment about things that I haven't heard any of your views on yet. My main concern here is that there are state statutes and a county commission and a brand new county planner that will zone all the stuff outside of the city limits. There's already provisions for that, and for the city council to set on top of that new zoning on private property. There isn't any property around Worland. The city doesn't have land around Worland that you guys are going to community develop into. What you're talking about is developing private property And those private property owners are the ones that should be developing their land, not the city zoning them out of their own property rights. So I feel at a total disadvantage here. I would like to hold my comments and make comments once I've heard what all of you people believe about this issue. It's backwards to me. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Roman. I moved here approximately...
Last name, sir?
Roman Canane. I moved here approximately 2 years ago from a large city in California, and moving to this small town was one of the best choices I had made. So I was shocked to find that every one of my high school friends could not wait to move away. And when I asked them why, they would give me one of two answers. There is nothing fun to do here, or there are no good jobs here. This grant that you are about to vote on is going to make more businesses more likely not to move here and others to move away. Now, I don't own a business, but I can tell you, if I did, I would not move to a town that made it mandatory to have a key outside in a lockbox. Neither would I build a house if I had to put sprinklers in. I would much rather have those two things available, but have the choice to install them or not. And for what I have seen, the people of Orland are smart enough to make that decision on their own. I would ask that you vote no on this grant because it will only increase the size of government and the regulations on us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody out that would like to speak? Anybody else?
I would.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This evening I gave you a
If
small...
you'd stand up and state your name,
sure.
please.
You want to hold this for me? This evening I gave you a small packet,
And your name,
Alexandra Canane.
for the record.
Okay. Inside the packet, there's a small little pamphlet on Agenda 21. There's excuse me, another one on sustainable development, okay? The Constitution, and a copy of the oath that you took for office, okay? I would like for you to please not vote on this tonight. You know, read this stuff. Take a look at it. Educate yourself before you just go and vote. Oh, and one more thing. I'd like you to consider to re-voting, bringing the 2012 building codes back to 2006. That way, maybe we would have a very, a
Well, I think
clear idea.
we're getting off task on here. I
You know what?
think we need to
Please.
go.
That
No,
way,
you
I
need
could
to
at least finish. That way, you could at least have a clear idea of who to vote for
I'm
come
sorry,
tomorrow.
I'm sorry, but what you need to do is
Thank
go
you.
by what it says here. We're not talking about building codes at this moment. We're talking about our development of our city. Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name is Raymond Vega, and I've been a citizen of Orland for 45 years. And I got the thing in the newspaper about this thing that you guys are trying to pass, and I think it's just wrong. I think that you guys need to take a stop and really look at this thing real close and make a good decision, because what you guys are going to decide, or eventually what's going to be decided on, is going to affect everybody. I had my business in town. I moved it out of town because I didn't care for all the stuff that was going on. Had to deal with the city. I moved it out of town. Well, now it seems like it's going to go out further, and it's going to take and bring that stuff into town. Have the same type of ordinances and stuff that what's in town out of town. That's the whole purpose of me moving out of town. I think if you guys are voting on it today, I would suggest, my suggestion would be to hold off till a lot more people learn what's going on. If they're just, I look at the council here, and truthfully, aside from maybe one or two, I don't think anybody's got a business in town, do they?
Oh, I've had several here.
But you don't anymore.
I don't, Bud has had.
And he doesn't anymore.
Mr. Duffy has one, and Jim Gill has one.
But what I'm saying is that, it's going to affect everybody. And you got to take and put yourselves in the situation of the business people. And how's that going to affect them? We want to take it, and yeah, I don't have anything against making Orland grow. But, do it the right way. Don't take it and go on this. I mean, we're not a big metropolis. We're Orland. Let's keep it, Portland.
Were you speaking of the paper that was in our
This.
newspaper? That didn't come from the city.
Well, no, I know it didn't come from the city.
Okay, I just wanted, some
Okay.
people in the audience
No,
thought it
and
did.
what I'll tell you what, that I've had my run-in with the county planner already about this stuff of building out of town. You know, that's the whole reason, like I said, that's the reason I moved out of town. My stuff's out of town, but now they were trying to take and make me conform to some of these rules that they had, and they were not even right. Okay?
Well, that's
We're
the
not
county
even
you're
right.
dealing with, not the city.
Well, eventually, you know, we're going to get brought into it. That's what it sounds like.
Well, thank you, Mr. Big. Any other comments, public comments? Yes, sir.
My name is John Martin. I've been a resident since 1979. I really enjoy Worland. It's something you can put your heart and soul into. I sat on the city council. I know the decisions that you all make are tough, but whatever you do, you affect everybody that's within the community. So I would really caution to make sure that, number one, you're not going against your oath of office, and two, that Agenda 21 is something that, the way I understand it, is not beneficial to our community or any other communities. I think that the rancor of politics as it were today is beginning to bubble over, and I think people are beginning to get a little frustrated with governmental entities, and I think we see that within our own little community. So I would just encourage you all to dig deep in this topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other input? Greg?
My name is Greg Hammonds. I am currently chairman of the Washtenaw Planning Commission. I'm also a resident of the city of Worland, so I believe I have some reason to be here. First of all, I am speaking in favor of the resolution because, having been on the Planning Commission for many years, I understand the need for proper planning. And I believe that what we have here really is just a formality to hire a consultant, it's my understanding, that will help the city of Worland facilitate a comprehensive plan. Currently, the city of Worland does not have a professional planner, and I think it's very important that, in lieu of not having a professional advisor for the council and the city, that if they do have in place a comprehensive plan that helps to guide them in making proper decisions regarding development. It's not a question about whether this city is going to develop or not, it's about how much and how quickly. And I think we can all look to what's happening in the Williston Basin, in North Dakota, and other places in the West to realize that without proper planning, that the community that we all, I believe, love and, you know, have a reason for living here can go away very quickly. And so I think it's extremely important that the city move forward with a comprehensive plan. This has been done by many cities in this state already, and based on, you know, learning from our past mistakes. You know, we look at places like Gillette and Pinedale where development, because it happened, you know, in kind of a crisis mode, that we have the opportunity right now to be proactive and to control the development the way that we want it to happen. So I would encourage the council to pass this resolution so that we can get professional advice as we develop our own plan. The professional person that the city consults with is not going to dictate our plan. We will advise them what we want. So I think, you know, it can be whatever we want as the city so dictates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any public comments? Anybody out in the hallway? Yes, sir.
I'm John Sherman, and I would just encourage the council to defeat this resolution. Government is not the answer. Government is the problem. we've got good people in places. I think the contractors board lost some really good men over this. And we don't need government money to make a bunch of decisions, because with that government money comes a bunch of strings. And we've got too much government influence already.
Good thing. Anybody else? Hey, hearing no other public comments, I will close the public meeting, and I'll turn the time over to our clerk treasurer, Tracy Glantz.
We have a copy of resolution number 2012-5 in front of you. I'll read through it. A resolution authorizing the submittal of an economic planning and community development block grant, CDBG application, by the City of Worland to the Wyoming Business Council for the purpose of the development of a comprehensive master plan for the City of Worland, Washington County, Wyoming. Whereas Wyoming State Statute 15-1-503 states that the Board of Adjustment and Planning Commission shall adopt and certify to the governing body a master plan for physical development of the municipality. And whereas the City of Worland desires to develop a 20-year comprehensive master plan, economic development, infrastructure, and land use guideline that will identify development infrastructure and land use plan needs, and whereas this plan shall be made for the general purpose of guiding and accomplishing a coordinated, adjusted, and harmonious development of the municipality, which will best promote the general welfare as well as efficiency and economy in the process of development. And whereas the City of Worland wishes to finance the project with funding from a CDBG grant. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Worland that a CDBG grant application in the amount of $36,000 will be submitted to the Wyoming Business Council with a match of $9,000 being provided by the City of Worland. Be it further resolved that the mayor as the chief elected official and the clerk treasurer will be the authorized representatives of the City of Worland to act on behalf of the governing body on all matters relating to this grant application. Passed, approved, and adopted this 5th day of November 2012. I would ask for a motion to approve if true.
Do you have a motion to approve the grant?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Discussion. It's time. Any discussion from the council? Yes, sir.
Was the 9,000 planned for budget? Do we have the money?
Mayor, it will go into next year's budget, and actually 2,500 of that was pledged from WDA. So
I know the 2,500, but
the 6,500 would be in next year's budget, because this won't even be awarded until March. So it would go into our budget in July. We wouldn't even get the money until May or June.
one more thing.
Certainly.
I've always said that we should listen to the constituents and the people around the area, so I'd like to have more time to work on this and think about it. So.
Any other discussion?
Agreed.
Yes, Mr. Duffy.
You know, I'm not opposed to deferring this and giving it some further thought. I made the motion because I think it's important that we do have a plan. Further, the state statutes require that we have a master plan. I think there's a great deal of confusion about what this master plan is proposed to do, and as a liaison to the Planning Commission, I'd like to try to cover a little bit of the content of this. The information that's printed in the paper, or was included, it wasn't printed there, it was inserted, is a little bit misleading because it discusses a number of things that this doesn't apply to at all. One of those things is zoning specifically. The other is the contractors board and that process and the building codes. None of those things are necessarily a part of this. The master plan, there is an existing master plan. I honestly don't know when it was approved. My suspicion it was 20 years ago.
Something in that area.
1978. And there are some things in it that are probably beneficial that might be included in a new master plan. But this master plan is and I'll let members of the planning board correct me if I misinterpret this, but I think I have this straight. The master plan is essentially to determine how Worland wants to grow and in what directions. And based on the input from the citizens of Worland, whether it be, and the term stakeholders was used by a member from the community, and in a sense that's true, but it's a review of everyone in town and what they would like to see Worland look like 20 years from now. Now, is it cast in concrete? No, it's not. But the idea is the town can only grow in certain directions. And right now, we don't really have a plan that says that the size of the sewer line from point A to point B should be X if the city grows in that direction. We don't have a plan that says if we need to extend streets, that we do it in a certain format and that they have a certain size and width and that they are coordinated with developments inside and outside of the city limits. Those kinds of things are pretty critical to what we do to attract business, to be assured that we can grow and provide an area where we can develop residences and that kind of thing. Now, it's been said that this is going to zone the county, and that's not true. Part of this process was designed to work through another state statute that grants the city zoning authority for land that's within a half mile of the existing city limits. That's a state statute. It gives the city that authority. The whole purpose of this was to define those areas that are a half a mile out, to look at what that growth might be in the future, and to determine if there's a need to work with the county to determine how that's going to take place over the next few years. So if you live in the county today and you own a home, you don't wind up with a rendering plant or a stockyard across the street from you. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking at, and we talked with the county planning group about it, and their position was that until the city had a master plan, they didn't know, and truthfully, I guess we didn't have, the planning commission didn't have a good feel for what that ought to be. Whether it would be an extension of the existing zones that are adjacent to that half mile, whether it be something else, that requires public input. This whole process requires public input. It does not have anything to do with building codes. It doesn't specifically mean that something's going to be zoned. It doesn't specifically mean that we're out to take somebody's property and use it. What it means is this is a process that would allow the citizens of Worland and the outlying areas that would be affected to determine the kinds of things that you want to have happen in the next 20 years. Now, it has to be flexible enough to change. I think if you went back to the previous plan, you'd find that there were some zoning changes made that really were never carried out in fact. I mean, we might have ended up with an industrial zone and restricted people's ability to do something with their property. We've made a change in that direction already, and we've rezoned part of the area on the north side of Pepsi from industrial to a B2 zone so those people can build a garage or make changes to their property. Those kinds of things are critical, and it's important that we have a group the size of this that works with this process. But it's also important that you be educated about what the purpose of the plan is, who's going to be doing it, and what the point is. There isn't a UN 21 agenda person under any of our desks. We all have the best, as you do, the best intentions for the city of Worland. And that's why it's important that we approve this grant. And if you need more time to look at that, if you think that's required, I don't have a problem with that. But know what it is that we're talking about, and don't everybody assume that we're out to annex property or make changes to the county, because that's not the plan.
Thank you very much, Dave. I think you made some very good points. I can look within our city limits right now where we have real narrow streets in some of our residential areas that the planning for those streets weren't done in the proper way. And that's what we're really trying to do. Anybody that has a $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 house just on the border, and they want to protect them as residents of the city from feedlots like we talked about. think those were some very good points, David, I think. Any other discussion? No other discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor, so I would like a voice vote one at a time, and we'll start with Jim Peel.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you very much for your attendance. We appreciate you being here this evening, and if there's anything we can do for you, let us know.
Will this bill be read 3 times?
It's already written. Resolution, isn't it?
Do it anyway. What?
Okay, we'll move on to the next portion of our business tonight. It is time for the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on October 16th, 2012. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes? Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. It's time for the approval of the October bills and the payroll for the period ending October 14th.